All right, here we go. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. It is now 4 p.m. on Thursday. We had an all-night ceremony last night, finished at 8 a.m. I did manage to sleep a little bit during, so that's helping, but it's catching up to me now. And we're about to go into another all-night ceremony. All right, so last night we drank yahe, which is a slightly different brew from ayahuasca, and it was served by shaman Taita Juanito, whose family lineage is serving the yahe medicine. And so he's been drinking apparently since the age of 6 and is one of the supposed to be one of the better shamans out there. And it was an intense ceremony for everyone. First of all, yahe is a medicine that makes you purge a lot more than ayahuasca. So everybody was a little bit on edge about that and nervous of what was to come. The ceremony started very quickly as soon as everybody came in. Normally there's like a bit of a opening talk and things take a little bit more time to get started, but I feel like within 20 minutes of everybody sitting, we were lining up to get the first cup. So last time I was here at Rythmia, I bailed out on drinking on the last ceremony, which was the yahe night. Did 3 nights of ayahuasca and bailed on the 4th night. This week it's 2 ayahuasca, 2 yahe. And I feel that I've picked up a lot of courage over the last little while. Sitting with Bufo last week was definitely one of them. And oh my God, my eyes look so tired. But yeah, so for me, there was no doubt that I was going for it this time. I didn't regret, but I learned a lot from not drinking last time. And I didn't want to venture down that road again. So line up, take down the first cup. A lot of people really cringe at the taste of yahe, and some like can't hold it down for more than a few minutes. I actually found it tasted better than the ayahuasca. Both are kind of like, tastes like dirt, but like cold medicine, really not great, but I was okay with it. But what I did notice is like I had a bit of a spicy aftertaste. You can feel the tingles in your mouth and in your throat. And very quickly, I could feel it like spreading through my body, just going into all of the corners of my stomach and beyond, into like my limbs and all of my organs. And it felt like little black snakes just like moving around. And the ceremony starts with, I think, 2 hours of silence, which that in and of itself is difficult. I struggled with it last time, but I have gotten more comfortable with silence over the last year and a half. But once you start having visuals and things start happening, it is very trippy for all that to happen in silence. Like the hyperspace is all like silent. And you start seeing spirits and entities, and it's all like very interesting combination. So yeah, I sat on my mat, same as I've been doing the last 2 days. Sit up straight, really like stoic position. I use my beaded bracelet to send love to, I decided to do teachers yesterday. So I send love to all of the people who have taught me something in this life. And that's my like entry point into the trip. I started feeling the tingles on the face, the forehead, like started to feel that heaviness. And I decided to sit with it as long as I could. I didn't want to like lean back right away, just trying to stay present with it and see it for what it is. And eventually it just overtook me. I just had to lean back and go into, things were fine at first. It felt like these like white, what's that kids movie? Big Hero 6 type entities were gathering over me and looking at me. They were all very curious. And then I was wheeled into a operating room, and it was the most beautiful operating room ever. Like something about the architecture design of the yahe space was just like impeccable. And the operating room was made up of beautiful arched walls and they were like fluorescent red, fluorescent purple. And it was like things were moving slightly, colors were shifting. And I couldn't tell what the beings were there to do my surgeries, but it started with like just like a scan, like a green line went over my entire body. And then they asked me like, where do you want your surgeries? I guess I had a few options. I asked them to do something about my thumb because I had injured it about a week ago and it's been hurting quite a bit. And I asked for some help on my shoulder, which I also injured a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks ago. And they did both. And in the moment, it felt great. Today, it feels the same as it did yesterday. However, learned from last time that cosmic surgeries, you don't feel the effects right away. So like probably next week, this finger will be healed. And probably next week, the shoulder will be healed too. And sure, they could heal on their own as well. Make of it what you wish. I believe it has an effect. Last time I had also a shoulder injury, same one, that had been lingering for 2 years, and I had tried so many different things to heal the shoulder. And ayahuasca, I had the cosmic surgery, and 2 weeks later it was completely healed. So I do believe that it works. After that, something really funny happened. Out of nowhere appeared like a bathtub, and it was filling up with the little black snakes. And there was a kid there. He was like guiding me into the bath. He was like, this is where you go next. And it got scary. I was like, I have to jump into this dark bath with black snakes in it. It felt like the right thing to do, to go for whatever was scary in that moment. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? So I jump in with both feet. And as I jump in, the bath just like vanishes. And the kid starts laughing because he had tricked me into doing something that was super scary. And I was brave, so it was funny. I started laughing to myself. After that, things get a little difficult to follow the timeline. But there was a vision with aliens that came and gave me a very clear message and clear instructions. I'm not going to share those because it's a little bit out there, and I would prefer to preserve the sacredness of those messages. They have been recorded elsewhere. So there's proof that if it does come true, that those messages were said, but I won't be sharing them publicly for the time being. All right, then the purge started. A lot of people in the room were already purging at that point. I was enjoying my trip, but it was like dense and like a lot to navigate. And came the first purge, and I just kind of sit up, going all fours to my bucket, and start like retching into my bucket. And as I do that, like it's instant, you know what it's for. And the medicine was clearing all of the judgment and anger and jealousy and all these like low vibrational states and energies that were taking up space in my body, that were stored deep inside. And that part of the purge was oddly satisfying. Not that I wish it upon anyone or that I want to go through it again tonight, but it was like I felt like I was like fighting those states out of my body. Get out, fuck you, get out, rah. And it was trying to like take over me, but I kept pushing it out, and I was laughing at it because I was like, ha ha ha, I got you out. I was laughing into the bucket, and it was like a very satisfying feeling. And I felt better, and I think I lied back down, visuals continued, and then came another purge pretty quickly on. And that one was less fun. That one was like violent garbage mixed with acid coming up in liquid form in the mouth. Like I could taste it, and it was liquid, and it, just thinking about it, is so gross. And I think, I don't know how long I was vomiting that for, but it was like for 10 minutes. I was making all kinds of like bubbly sounds, and it was coming out my nose, and it was gross. I couldn't stand it. It's so nasty. Looking back, of course, it's funny, but in the moment it sucked. And that one was clearing the toxins in my body, including whatever garbage is in the COVID vaccine, because I had to get it in order to be able to travel to and from Canada. I won't get into it, but it goes against my beliefs, but I still did it. And there were some challenges along the way, a lot of lessons learned, but yesterday felt like it all came out. Like, it just came out of me. And the moment I finally stopped puking, I felt this like much deeper connection to my body I hadn't felt really before. It's like I don't know, my cells came alive, or I became more aware of like my body. It was like instant, just here's your body again. At that point, I just collapsed on my belly at the front of my mat with the bucket next to my head. And I felt so much better, but I was exhausted from the puking. And I started just thinking like how I'm not doing this again. I'm not going up there to take a second shot. I started thinking about how I wanted to go home. My car's here since we live 2 hours away. How tomorrow I'm just gonna pack my bags and drive home. Yet here I am. And all of this turned into a sacred no, which is a very healthy divine masculine energy in my opinion, where the boundaries are very clearly defined and there's no hesitation around it. So it's like, no, I'm not drinking anymore, not today, not tomorrow. But then my mind started getting involved, or there was maybe, they call it a consult, where either a being, an entity, or you yourself is like really in a consultation with yourself. So I was in a consult with myself, and there were a lot of thoughts and a lot of questions about what about later? What about a smaller dose? What about tomorrow? What if you feel different? Just started questioning, and I was like, had to stay in my sacred no. It was a good like test of my sacred no. Obviously that changed later down the line, but in that moment I was really like in my truth. From there, I got a pretty significant download about the healthy masculine, because I was like thinking about all of that and about what it means to step into the healthy masculine. This week and yesterday, I really understood the concept and how it works with the divine feminine energy and the toxic, unhealthy aspects of each one, and how they're in each of us and in the male and female bodies. And I got a sense of like how to piece it all together into digestible material that I think other men could benefit from, the way that I have over the last year, really abandoning toxic, unhealthy masculine beliefs and stepping into a healthier relationship with the masculine. And there's a correlation to it later, which I'll point out when it comes. And as I got the download, I was just like aware that I received the download, and that when I'm ready to sit down and put it together, I need to sit in meditation, contemplate, and all of the information is gonna come to me. From there, I started looping. The loop is a common thing in plant medicine, especially with ayahuasca. I forget exactly what the full loop was, but there was like seeing the universe from a very high level, seeing it from the body, seeing it from the ground. There was discussion over the healthy masculine, discussion about the sacred no, and a few other things that I can't recall right now. And I just go from one to the other. And after a few loops, I was like, oh shit, I'm in the loop. And they say, love the loop. If you want to get out of the loop, love the loop. Don't resist the loop. I wasn't really resisting it, but I decided to love the loop. And when I did that, I understood, this is hard to explain, I understood how the universe wouldn't function without a loop. The loop is the energy that keeps things going. And the universe at the large scale moves at an incredibly high speed that we humans cannot comprehend. And it has like a fast turbine loop. And then at the highest level, that is then mirrored at different scales. So universe, I'm sure there's other scales in between, but let's bring it down to the earth. That too loops every day and night at a fast pace, but slower than that of the universe. And then there's us. And we mirror that as well in our energies: tired, energized, sad, happy. And we have these loops inside of us. And then our molecules too, and our DNA is in the spiral. So this loop is mirrored across everything just at different scales. And I was moving through all of the scales more like one after the other so that I could really understand how the universe functions. I don't have anything to do with that information, but it gave me like a better understanding. I like to know how things work. And the loop kept coming back. Oh yeah, in it there was also like nausea kept coming up, and I kept telling myself nausea is just a reminder to breathe. So that I would breathe, and then the loop would start over and bring me back into the nausea and again. That went on for a while, and then I started coming back a little bit into my body. So less out there, a little bit more grounded. And I found a sweet spot where I had one half of my body in the fifth dimension, fourth or fifth dimension, I forget. And one half of the body more in the third dimension. I was like, this is my happy place. This is where I like to be, like dance between the two. Like, this is my comfort zone. And as I started going back more into the human body and less in the fourth, fifth dimension, I started appreciating how amazing it is to be a human. And just how I've said this before, but how we come here to just enjoy like all the things that we don't get to experience out in the fourth, fifth dimension. And just like this appreciation for my body, appreciation for breath, appreciation for the earth. I was just like, I started touching a bit of that bliss. It felt really good. The trip was starting to come down at that point, but there was no way that I was going to get a second cup. Like, my body was just like completely shut off from drinking more. Like, it was a sacred no still. And it was nice to like be that tapped into my intuition, into my gut feeling, and know that there's no way I was doing that. But I didn't want it to wear off because it was an all-nighter, and yes, I could go to sleep, but then what? So I decided to try to microdose ayahuasca. I still have a little bottom left in my cup. So I just took it and tipped it over and felt one drop on my lip. And the moment that happened, I felt the spirit of ayahuasca, of the mother, travel from the cup into my mouth and into my body. And I became reactivated just from one drop. Incredible. And I leaned back onto my mat. And this time there was no nausea, no vomiting, because all I did was take a drop. And I met Davina, who I understood she was sleeping in a dream state, and our souls were able to meet in this hyperspace dimension where we go when we sleep. And we were just so happy to be with each other, hugged and kissed and cuddled, and it was just like pure bliss to be together. And we were laughing about the fact that we managed to do this, that she was in her sleep, I was in my DMT trip, and we were together. And it felt extremely real. And then she would keep leaving. I think maybe she was like tossing and turning or needed to go back into her body for something, and then she would come back. And that happened like maybe 3 times. And then Max shows up, same thing. He just walks into the Maloka. I feel like I can see him there. And he's all dazed and confused because people are throwing up and feels like heavy, swampy energy in the room. He's like, Papa, what's going on? I'm scared. And I take him quickly and start explaining to him what we're doing here, that we're healing and releasing a lot of pain and trauma and things that no longer serve us, but that it's necessary, that I was doing the same thing, and that it's all good, that everybody's going to be okay, everything's fine. This is like a beautiful process. It looks scary, but there's nothing to be scared about. And then he just hops onto my mat and we cuddle, and I'm just like hanging out with him, and it feels oh so nice. And then eventually he looks down on the mat and he realizes his body is not there. It's only his awareness, even though I can see him, but I know that it's just his soul. It's not his body that's there. And he starts freaking out. He's, oh my God, what happened to my body? And I tell him, you're in your dream. Go back to see Mama. She will explain everything to you. And so I didn't know what was happening at the house. So I was very curious to check in with Davina in the morning and see if she and Max experienced something. And she said she remembers having dreams, but she couldn't remember what they were. To me, it still happened. Sometimes we have dreams, we just can't remember them. So this was one of those situations. And for Max, she said that he woke up in the best mood ever. And he ate a lot, and he was super happy and kind with everyone. And he typically does this when I spend one-on-one time with him. It changes his mood, and then he's in a good mood. So I believe it happened. She said she was going to talk to him after school, so I might find out in a little bit if he recalls anything. From there, I had a lot of visuals about our new house that we're building here in Costa Rica and what that life is going to look like, and just all of the good times that are coming in the living room, and dance parties and having friends over and hanging out with the kids. I felt bad for them because when the house is ready, it will be about a year since we've moved out of our house, and living in rentals and a year for kids is such a long time, and I feel bad for them, but I know good stuff is coming. And from seeing all this like beauty in our life that's coming, I realized that we need to keep our life simple. And Davina and I tend to come up with new ideas, new projects, and that only makes life more complicated. Yes, there are projects that need to be carried out, but some of them, like, they're ego-driven, they're for status or to display what it is that we're capable of creating. And even though they would serve some kind of good, it just didn't feel in resonance. It didn't feel like our calling to do some of these projects. And it was like such clarity. It was like, let's stay simple. Let's expand on like the things that we're starting now, which is like some coaching and some breath work and other practices. But let's keep it to like the two of us and do things well, and not build another big business that is going to take up a lot of our time, that's going to be a distraction from the good that we want to create. And I just got immense clarity on it. And I checked with Davina. I shared that with her in our messages this morning. And she said she also this morning had received the same kind of clarity about simplicity. Connection, telepathic connection is a thing. Speaking of which, I'll segue. My gym trainer from Canada messaged me today asking me to tell him next time that I'm in ceremony so that he can connect to the energies. And I told him tonight at 8 or 9 p.m. Montreal time, that will be the time to plug in and connect. And he said, I didn't know you were in ceremony, but since Monday, I have felt your strong energy coming through. And Monday's when we started the ceremonies. And over the holidays, I facilitated his first mushroom ceremony in Canada. And I strongly believe that connected the two of us on a cellular level where we're connected now. So if I'm experiencing something, he can tell. And I haven't really felt it the other way, but I know that he has. And it's pretty cool to witness this incredible, intelligent technology from nature at work, like witnessing it actually work. Like, we hear about this stuff on Gaia and other shows, but to have like real examples for myself, I know that for me, they're not for anybody else, so you may not believe them, but for me, they're so real, and it's blowing my mind a little bit. That's like pure magic. So get visuals about our family, go into like simplicity, and I think after that, I kind of went to sleep. I must have slept maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 hours. It's hard to say, but I was woken up. Oh no, sorry, before that. Not that it's important, but before that, I went to sit in front of the musicians and really took in the music. So the Maloka is big. It fits like 100 people. And I came in late to get my mattress. And so I ended up in like the back corner. And at first I was like, I don't want to be here. I like to be in the action next to the music. That's where I like to experience these ceremonies. But it turned out to be such a blessing to be in that corner. It felt like we had our own little Bedouin camp with nomads that travel through the desert and set up tents. Like that was us. Like we had our own like camp of 20, 30 people, and we were like all in sync and cheering for each other. And when one was purging, they were purging for all of us. And I saw myself like, not physically, but like spiritually cheering everybody on when I was feeling good and people were struggling a little bit. And I had a dream of this moment a few weeks ago. In my dream, I was like hyping people up in a circle, and it was that exact moment. Again, magic. So yeah, so being in that secluded area also meant like the music wasn't as loud, but that was nice because it allowed us to stay in our experience instead of like being so carried away by the music. But the music is like incredible. It's live musicians and unbelievable. Just like it lights up every cell in your body. And so I did want to go and enjoy the music while I was feeling good. So I went and sat like a few feet from them and just felt the music in my entire body. But then I came back and it was nice to have that distance, quieter and easier to go to sleep. So I fell asleep 2, 3, 4 hours, and I was woken up by one of the helpers. They were doing healing circles where people sit in a circle. The shamans go around and do this healing blessing. At that point, I'm completely sober when I'm woken up. And that started fucking with me. I was like, I tried to microdose a little bit more, took a couple of drops, but wasn't doing anything. I was like too sober at that point. And so I went to sit in the healing circle, but my mind started to mess with me because I was sober. And I felt like everybody around was like way more on the medicine. I felt like the shamans could tell that I was sober because of like the denser energy that was coming through me. And I started judging myself. I started comparing to others, started talking myself down. And it was not a pleasant feeling, but I sat with it. And that's the toxic masculine that I was referring to before. I realized like how we are conditioned to compare ourselves to other men, especially. And I was comparing myself to the men in the groups who were like still drinking and going more intense than I was. And for some reason, like I felt less worthy than them. And it's stupid, but that's like how we deal with like sports and school, and we do all this like comparison, and it's fucked up. That's so toxic, and it needs to stop, and it needs to be undone. And we can't keep doing that as a society. That's what breeds a lot of bad shit in this world. That's so evident and clear to me. So I like rejected those concepts. Like I did not give in. I felt them, but I rejected them. And I allowed for the healing to happen. And I don't know what was being healed, but this energy was being like, it like came out of me like through the healing. So that there was something that happened. And I went back to my mat. And as I was about to go back, I thought of the macaw bird and the pleasant, the joyous energy that comes out of that bird. It's the spirit animal of ayahuasca, and there's a couple flying around here, which is incredibly majestic. And I started calling in the spirit of the macaw to come and take me away on a blissful journey. And that gave me the idea and the message to drink the rest of what was in my cup. It was about an eighth, I would estimate, left in there. And I felt like I could handle it. My sacred nose started lifting. And I said, okay, I don't think I'm going to purge this 1/8. And so I go and take it, do my stoic seating just to allow the medicine to move through my body. And I felt it move, but it was gentle and calm. And then it took over in the most blissful way ever. Every cell in my body just came online, but I didn't disappear into the cosmos. I didn't start having crazy visions. It was like for those who have done mushrooms or who microdose on mushrooms, like taking a high microdose or like a small, like a 0.8 of a gram of psilocybin, where like just light up. And I felt so good, and I started feeling bliss, and I went outside and the sun was rising, the birds were chirping, laid down in the hammocks and just watched the trees like dance over me. Everything was just like alive, and I had like the biggest smile on my face, and I was so proud of myself for following that call and drinking just a little bit more and allowing myself to have this experience and to finish on like that night on such a beautiful note, and everything else that I had gone through, like I still did the hard thing. Maybe I didn't keep drinking and keep going deeper, but I just don't believe in like full-fledged, like hardcore, drink more, drink more, drink more, disappear, disappear, disappear. There's something to be said about our intuition and where it wants to go and what it wants to learn at what pace and at its comfort level. Like those are important tools, like tap into ourselves. And I did that. And I think if everybody taps into like their gut feeling and their intuition a little bit more, then we start moving as a society into a direction where everybody is living to their highest purpose, is delivering their gifts to those around them. And I hope that everybody can find that kind of deep gut feeling, that deep intuition. Finally, 8 o'clock rolled around, did a closing talk. That was it. Went to breakfast. I was still completely blissed out. Ate so much food and felt amazing. And then I knew I had one more ceremony to go through. And right now the sun is setting. It's about 4:30 and I'm about to go do my ice bath and get dressed, go to ceremony. And they say with the 2 nights of Yahe, it's bittersweet. One night is bitter, which I definitely tasted in every way, in my mouth especially, and then the sweet. And when they said that this morning at the closing talk, you could feel like the collective energy of the room just got so much lighter, and everybody's like, oh, tonight could be sweet. Ah, yes, please. And so I'm calling in a lot of sweetness, a lot of bliss for myself, for everyone else. I'm picturing that when I drink, instead of like black snakes going all in my body, it's green, healthy, vitality, green leaves just like spreading through my body, like these vines growing. And from there, I can have a deep experience with the medicine, with myself, maybe with some spirits, but today feels more earthly. Like Monday and Tuesday was space and then earth. I feel like yesterday was definitely a little spacey, and today I'm feeling a little bit more earth. And maybe there will be some kind of like death in the earth. There might still be purging, but I'm calling in like the sweet bliss of rebirth and of feeling alive and tasting the trees and the air and the water, having waterfalls and animals and like, that's what feels like it's at the doorstep. And we'll see how accurate my intuition is. And that's it. I'm glad I'm doing these video journals. They're hard to do. They require energy out of me and things that I've already talked about with Davina. But it comes out in a good, clean way, and I'm happy I'm doing these. And I have one more to do tomorrow after this tonight's ceremony. And we also have breathwork tomorrow, and that might bring up some stuff as well. So there might be another part to all of this.